Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic. We have to kick the show off with my apologies for last week. I woke up with absolutely zero voice. I was hoping by that stage I hadn't had a voice for 5 days, that I might have miraculously had one for last week's show, but unfortunately I didn't. So I'm going to apologise again for that. I hope you sort of had a great fortnight anyway without me. And I know that we would have put on an amazing rerun show from the previous shows that I've done. It's been a really, really interesting time astrologically, and I'd like to kick off with that first off. Lots and lots of people have been sending me inboxes and sort of saying, Amanda, why am I feeling so tired? Why is it this? Why is it that? You know, I really feel like I'm just sort of being pulled in so many different directions. And because I suppose I didn't have the energy to really answer anybody or briefly, it was like, look, I don't have all the answers. I don't feel well enough to even contemplate your answers. And fortunately, yesterday I was working on another show out of New York called I've Got Your Number with two amazing ladies, Lois and Joanna. And it was during the show that Lois, as a numerologist, was talking about why we all need to rest in the month of July. So I thought I'd share that little bit of wisdom with you today. That apparently when you go back to the religious beliefs, and this is not about being religious, this is about let's take some information and use it right across the board, that on the seventh day we're supposed to rest. So her belief system is on the seventh month of the year, which is July, we should all take some time, some downtime. We should all rest. We should all look after ourselves. And I really found that resonated with me, because I always find by the time we get to July, I'm always sort of feeling if that's the time I'm going to get sick, I usually get sick then. And I used to think it was because it was winter time here in Australia, and I don't particularly like winter. I just thought it was my emotional self allowing myself to sort of say, well, you know, you've got an excuse to curl up in bed with a video and not go to work today because you're feeling a little bit under the weather. But it makes sense if you look at that we go really hard for the first 6 months of the year, and then by the time we get to July, it's like, wow, we're over the halfway mark. It's sort of almost like we all drop our bundle and say, I really do need to sit down on the couch, or I really do need to just do something for me. So that's my little pearls of wisdom before we kick the show off. So we're going to start the show off again with our Simply Tarot card of the week. And I'm really pleased to say today the card is the Three of Cups. Now, whether or not this is symbolic with the amazing rescue of getting those 12 boys out and their coach out of the cave, let's hope it's connected to that, and many, many more things. It's the card of celebration and bright happenings. So it was really nice to wake up this morning to find that those lovely young boys had all been rescued, plus their coach. And our hearts and our prayers still go out to the diver that lost his life during the course of that rescue. I mean, there's been so many amazing people from all around the globe rescuing those boys. I can't begin to imagine the stress that their parents and everybody involved in that has been through. And luckily, they're all safe and well. And we have to really be very, very thankful for that. So keeping the show moving along as we need to do each week is keep everything moving so that we can get through what we need to get through in the next half an hour. The next thing I want to focus on is what is actually happening this week around the astrology sector of the globe. And look, there's so much we could spend 3 hours talking about and I wouldn't cover it. So let's just hone in on one, which is the new moon, which is going to be part of the first eclipses that we're going to have. We're going to have a series of 3 eclipses. I'm not a big eclipse person. I know lots of astrologers work with these and are really sort of much more knowledgeable than I am. All I can say to you from my personal experience with eclipses is it usually means that there's a major change or a major turning point in your life. This first eclipse is going to coincide with the new moon in Cancer. Now, the new moon in Cancer will move into the sign of Cancer on the 13th. So those of you that are regular viewers, you know that I like to sort of talk about a moon cycle being on a 7-day cycle. 2 days on the approach coming up the hill, 3 days sitting on top of the hill, and 2 days coming down. So we're into that section of the 2 days on the approach coming up the hill. So if we look at working with setting our intent, purpose and direction with our new moon in Cancer by writing our little list of what we want. So for those of you that may not know what a new moon means, a new moon means it's a time of new beginnings, of new opportunities, of things that are brand new, not necessarily something that we may have been working on for 12 months or 2 years. Hopefully it's new stuff. So I always teach people to write a list. Let's work on the score of 3 things you're going to put on your list, something that hopefully we can achieve in the next week or two. something in the next 6 months, and something in the next 12 months, or maybe has a longer duration. So if we're going to be working with a new moon, and let's go to the candles first off so that we know why we're going to be writing a list, we'd be working with, in this case, the new moon candle. So my new moon candle is being specially designed for new moons. It's not a candle that I burn at any other time of the month, even though it's one of my favourite fragrances because it's French vanilla. It is specifically designed for the new moon. So it's a candle that we would burn on the new moon. When we work with a candle from 15 minutes to 2 hours per day. So we write our list and we'll write 2 identical lists. We would read the list out aloud and then we would light the candle. So we always pop our candle on a coaster. We never put it directly on furniture. We don't want to scorch the furniture because the glass container itself does get hot. Now, these candles all come with a double wick, and I'll show you that now. They come with a dual wick, 2 wicks. So I like to sort of light one side one day and one side the next day. And the reasons why I do that is I sometimes find with the changes of temperature, the glass container can crack. And also it gives you a much longer burn time. The recommended burn time if you have light the 2 wicks is about 60 hours. If you light them alternately on alternate days, you'll get up to about 100 hours burn time. So that's our new moon candle. Then I would also be burning at this time the water sign candle. The reasons for this, because the new moon is in Cancer. So I would want to enhance that emotional energy and the emotional issues that I'm trying to draw towards me, or to increase my intuition. Now, this is really important. Now, for those of you that say to me, Amanda, that's terrific, but I want something to take that's a much smaller sort of situation, we have our travel pack. Now, our travel pack you can make up of any 3 candles of your choice out of the 28 in our range. I've made it up with the new moon and the water sign in the middle, but you can make it up in any combination that you want. These ones only have a single wick, same rules apply. Write your list, pop it on a coaster, pop it on the table. These will burn for approximately 15 hours. Now, for those of you that say, well, that's all terrific, but I don't actually want to burn a candle, Amanda, what are my other options? Well, you can also purchase one of these melt warmers or wax warmers. In the supermarkets here in Australia, they're under $20. I don't know how much they are overseas. But what you can do, if you don't want to use the flame and you don't want to burn a candle, you can take half a teaspoon of your wax and put it in your melt warmer. These are electric. They have a little button that you turn on and off. You can leave these going all day and you don't have to sit with them, and that's why I like them. I actually have a couple of these set up around my office and my home so that I have one constantly set up with protection in it in my office, so that every time I go to start work, I turn the protection one on and put some fresh soy wax in there. But I have whatever I'm working on as my intent, purpose and direction in the other part of my office and my dining room table, where I mainly do a lot of my work. And I have that one burning with whatever I'm working with at the moment, which is the new moon at the moment. So with the new moon one, I put half a teaspoon of each, half a teaspoon of the new moon and half a teaspoon of the water sign. It's entirely your choice how you like to work with them. For those of you that don't have these particular type of candles, any candle will do. I always try and teach you to work with what resources that you've got. If you've got candles at home, even if you've only got a household grade candle, take the candle and focus on it. Focus on the energy as if meditating into it, and put in there what you want to draw towards you. That's putting your intent, purpose and direction into the candle. So we then light the candle. We work with it from 15 minutes to 2 hours a day. Please don't leave a candle unattended, under curtains, under air conditioning, in drafts, around children and dogs and, pets and animals and things like that. It's really important because it can start a fire and we don't want to lose anybody. So the reasons why we work with the new moon is that we're trying to draw towards us new opportunities. But it's also a time where we need to be very aware that our emotions are going to be incredibly heightened at this time, because the new moon is back in its own energy. It's back in its home. It's where it feels most comfortable. And this can have a good and a bad reaction. The good reaction is that we can get some really incredible psychic sort of flashes, and we can really feel like we're pumping them out one after the other, all these messages and ideas and inspiration and everything that's coming towards us. But on the negative, I think the spirits are playing with me today with my hair. They know I don't like it in my eyes. Having a little fun they are. But it's also a time where we can also find that our raw emotions can come to the surface too, and particularly if it's something that we've been trying to avoid or ignore or maybe don't want to look at. And it could be sort of what some people class as a negative emotion. It can be anger, it can be fear, it can be frustration, it can be tears. And sometimes it's a combination of, extreme happiness in 1 minute and then tears the next, and you think, what's wrong with me? It's just the emotions all playing their little role on the stage, if you want to look at it that way, and they're all vying to be, in the spotlight. So just work with it. Don't sort of try and harness it. I sort of say to people, enjoy it, go with it. We're very lucky that we get to experience lots of different emotions, and the new moon in Cancer is the perfect time to sort of say, well, okay, I want to start to experience all of my emotions. I'm not just limiting them to good emotions or avoiding things or trying to put my fear in the closet. It's a time to embrace it and own it and understand why it's there and how can I work with it? How can I turn it into a positive? Take that, raw negative energy and turn it into something positive. So it's actually quite an exciting time when you work with the new moon in Cancer, which only happens once a year, I might say. And before we go off the subject of that, yes, it is a super full moon. What that means is it's a little bit larger in the sky. So, yes, everything that you know about the Cancerian energy, the nurturing, the loving, the wanting to eat chocolate, staying home, sitting on the couch watching a good DVD, binging on Netflix, whatever, is all applicable. And, chocolate is one of the 5 food groups for Cancerians, and I think we can all sort of, join them in this little festivities at the moment, allowing a little bit of chocolate. Not a lot, but a little bit makes you feel happy and makes you sing through the day. So there's nothing wrong with a little bit of what makes you feel happy, I don't feel. So be aware the emotions will be even more larger than normal because of the super full moon. But I think we're just sort of talking so much about super full moons and red moons and this moon and that moon. It's still the moon, for heaven's sake, and let's just look at the moon for what it is. It's the new moon, how it's affecting us and the energy that it's in. And then, just sort of say, okay, well, it's going to be a bit more powerful than normal. And that's all we have to look at it for. So we're going to move on to our famous singer of the week. And this week I'm really excited to talk about somebody that I know I say this all the time, that I have immense respect for the people and they surprise me when I start to do research on who's under what star sign. But this man, I think, is a legend. And I mean this in the most positive sort of ways. And without his input into music, I don't think we'd have the type of music and the variety of music that we have today. And I'm talking about the one and only Louis Armstrong. And, even though he was born at the turn of the last century, what an amazing man. I mean, he was born in New Orleans in Louisiana. He was known for his skills as a trumpeter. He could pick up any instrument basically and play it. But what I think he really is the most famous for is the way that he interpreted the feel of the music. He really sort of, when I think of rhythm and blues, I think of Louis Armstrong, and I think of this man as being the pioneer, almost the father of bringing this type of music to our world and sort of bringing it in such a sort of positive, dynamic sort of way. He knew no boundaries. He felt the music. He lived the music. The music was part of him. It was an extension of him. It came out of every pore of his skin. And this is why this man was, inducted into the Hall of Fame for the rhythm and blues. And his career spanned over 5 decades. That's over 50 years. That's amazing. And when you think of this man who was, could play wind instruments, he was a musician, he was a singer, he was an actor, he was an innovator, he was somebody that sort of took no and said, well, why are you saying no to me? I'll turn it into a yes. And the little poster that I've done up that I'll feed through social media this afternoon has a really amazing quote from him about music and what happens to musicians when they no longer want to sing. And I thought that was a really nice quote. I didn't write it down on my whiteboard to share it with you, but it will be on the poster. And just what an amazing man. And when you look at some of the volume of some of his work, and I know I don't normally mention songs, but when you think of songs like What a Wonderful World, we all know that song. When the Saints Come Marching In, Hello Dolly. I mean, these are all songs that we synonymously know, but may not have necessarily sort of said, oh, okay, Louis Armstrong was instrumental with those songs, but he is. He was the man that put the passion in these songs. So I really salute him, an amazing entertainer. So moving on, we're going to be taking our very, very first call now. If I might need to put my glasses on because I can't see a thing today. Okay. So we've got Elvira in Evansville, Indiana. Are you there, Elvira?
Yes, yes, I am.
Do you have a question for me, sweetie?
Yes, I have a relative who's lost her husband of 37 years, and she's in the hospital, and I was wondering, will she bounce back?
Okay. It's interesting because health issues are one of the areas, the sort of grey areas that we're not technically supposed to cover by laws that govern your country and mine. But how I can get around this is, look, I can appreciate that, she is very sick and she has been, for a little while now, and the tremendous shock that she had to bear losing her husband of 37 years. They are showing me the signs of endings. Now, I'm not taking that as the end of her life. I'm taking it in a more positive way and saying, okay, yes, she's had some severe emotional endings. She's had issues and situations that she's had to deal with, including her health. But I feel that we're going to be able to put that behind us. And that's why the way that I've interpreted that they've shown me the symbol of ending wasn't of this is the end, but that we are finding solutions and answers that we can put this behind us. So, yes, I do believe she's going to bounce back. I do think it's going to take a little bit of time, though. I don't feel that they've actually got to the bottom of her medical issues yet. And I'm going to say issues with an S. I feel there's more than one condition. And this has been the issue for the medical staff, is that all the symptoms don't just fit neatly into one little basket and say we can put this label on it. It's sort of like it crosses over 2 or 3 possible diagnoses. And this is what's made it difficult for them to try and sort of pinpoint it down to then find the right treatment to be able to manage this. And I'm going to use the word manage rather than treat it, because I feel that there is one of them that needs to be managed, but I also feel that there's been an infection or an illness as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because to me it was on 2 levels. It was like one sort of like a condition we've got to manage, like asthma, say. I mean, I know it's not asthma, but it's like something we can control and we can manage. We can't cure it. But then there was an infection over here that I felt that was where the stumbling block was the most, because I feel it's not sort of fitting into their normal categories to know, like we've tried this and that didn't work, and we've tried that and that only partially worked. And it's like there's going to need to be a combination there of ways that they attack it to get on top of the infection. So has she been in hospital 2 to 3 weeks now?
Yeah, a little bit more.
We're close. Okay, well, then they're very close to getting an answer, because they showed me a 2 and then a -3, and then they showed me that things were starting to improve after that. So I feel we must be very close to them getting answers and getting her well again. Look, I think she'll still be there another week or 2 at least from where we stand today. But I feel when she does come out of hospital, she looks a hell of a lot better than she's done in a very, very long time. So I'm taking from that, whatever this other condition is that they've got to manage that they hadn't even diagnosed before, must have been lowering her health or, her way of coping with life, and she didn't even realise it. Do you know what I mean? She was so busy with life and with a husband. And was he sick before he passed too?
Okay.
Yeah, so she was so focused on everything else, I think she sort of didn't, I'm not saying she ignored it, but I don't think she allowed herself to sort of think, oh, well, I've got a sore leg. You know what I mean? I better go and see to that. It's like, I'll do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow came and there was a new set of challenges that she just really didn't have the time for herself. So this is why this condition has sort of got out of control. Do you know what I mean? And why we need to get to the bottom of that and start managing that. And then, it's just a combination of things. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I do believe she's going to bounce back, and I can see a real twinkle in her eyes again, which hasn't been there for a very long time. So it's good that she's got you to support her and help her and, be concerned about it, but everything's going to be fine.
Excellent.
Okay. Lovely to speak with you. Okay, we're going to speak to Amanda in Winnipeg, and that's in Canada. How are you, Amanda?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very, very well today, thank you. How can I help you, sweetie? Do you have a question for me?
I guess this is my first time calling. Just kind of wondering how things are going to go with my dad's health.
Right. Okay. Like I just said to the previous lady, we're technically not supposed to talk about health issues, but what I can do is
Okay.
go around the edge of it. No, technically because we're not doctors, we're not supposed to diagnose or talk about things like that, but I can go around it in another sort of fashion. With your dad, what I'm seeing here is, first and foremost, he's incredibly stubborn.
Mhm.
And this has been part of the problem. He goes to the medical practitioner and he only tells them part of the problem. He doesn't tell them all of it. It's like, well, they don't need to know everything. Do you know what I mean? Or he's such a proud man
That's
that he
definitely
doesn't.
him.
Yeah, that he doesn't want to go in there and seem like he's having a whinge fest. So instead of 10 things on the list that he should talk about, he'll talk about one, maybe two. So this has made it more difficult for his medical practitioners to be able to get to the bottom of the issue without knowing all the facts. So I think even if you go in there and start sort of talking about what you know to them, I think that would be helpful. Now, I don't believe what your dad has got is what we consider at this point as life-threatening. I'm not saying it's not serious, but I don't feel it's life-threatening. I feel it can be managed.
Okay.
So I feel, but he has to be honest with them, because if he leaves this too long, then it will probably turn into a more life-threatening situation because he hasn't given them all the information. Do you know what I mean? If you leave something long enough, then it becomes chronic, and we don't want it to become that. But he's been very bad-tempered lately too, snapping at everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you've really got to bite your tongue, you know, when you know that you can't go mad at him because he isn't well, but by heavens, he's had a mouthful of razor blades. He's just snapping and snarling and cutting everybody down to size and just more grumpy than normal. But did they talk about maybe possibly putting him in a hospital to run some tests?
Okay.
Because I'm seeing the hospital bed, but I'm seeing it as in sort of a precautionary measure, not because his conditions got worse. I'm seeing it as a way of running a series of tests and x-rays or blood tests or whatever that sort of like they can monitor what's going into him. Could there be partly something to do with the sugar problem?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, the reason I asked was when they gave me the flash of him being in the hospital and them running all these tests, they seemed to be coming and pricking his finger, you know, every few hours. Now, from my understanding of that, that's testing someone's sugar level. So whether or not that's just part of the precautionary tests that they're doing, you know, to rule that out, but that was part of what, you know, they're probably not even going to tell you, but that was one of the things. But I can see when you go and visit him, he's sort of talking about a man's like a bloody pincushion, you know. They keep coming and bloody taking little droplets of butter out of my finger. I mean, as if he, you know, it's almost like he feels like that he hasn't got enough to give them. Do you know what I mean? He gets so cranky about it. Probably not as painful and as bad as what he's making out, but the way he's going on about the man will have no blood left soon. Do you know what I mean? Like they've taken one drop at a time. They haven't taken pints of his blood. So just be aware of that. That's part of what they're eliminating, I think. But I just sort of feel it's something that can be managed. I really don't believe it's life-threatening, and I think we can improve his temperament as well. Should be nice.
Okay.
But he's just stubborn. That's his biggest problem. He's just stubborn. He just doesn't, you know, he doesn't want to tell anybody anything. And, you know, sometimes that's not a good thing when you're too stubborn and you don't go to the doctor for no reason. You go there to tell them everything. They're not mind readers. They don't have a crystal ball. They need you to tell them so they can make an inaccurate diagnosis of where they think they need to look to explore what to do next. And he hasn't given them that, but everything's going to be fine.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, lovely to speak with you, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we still have a few minutes left on the show. For those of you that might want to have a private reading with me, not on air, but you can always head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. And when you get to the checkout, if you type in the word radio in capital letters, you will get a discount there. Anybody that's interested in purchasing candles, here in Australia, we can offer free postage. For our overseas family, Unfortunately, we can't offer you free postage, but what we can offer you is a flat fee postage. So might I suggest save up your pennies for everything that you want and order everything in one go. That way that, you can reduce your postage costs. It doesn't matter how much you order, we will still give it to you at flat fee postage. And for those of you that want to know a little bit more about the new moon in Cancer, I will be doing a workshop immediately after this show over on Facebook on my Amanda Hall page. You're more than welcome there to join us. On next week's show, yes, we'll be talking about the Simply Tarot card of the week. We'll also have our candle of the week. We'll have our famous Leo singer in a female next week, and that'll be exciting to know who that will be. And we'll also have our little trip around the universe. It's been absolutely awesome to have you here with us again, but don't forget what Lois shared with me yesterday. We all need to sort of find the couch and sit on it and watch our favourite movie and just let our bodies relax and wind down and get ready for the race to the end of the year. I think that's really important. And, if you want to see me talk about something on the show, please private message me and I'll try and weave it into one of the coming shows. And because the show is about education, I'm here to educate and teach you. I'm here to share with you some of my knowledge so that maybe that, this might just help you on your enlightened journey, as we're all at different stages on our spiritual development and nobody has all the answers. I always teach people, if it feels right to you, then adopt it. If it doesn't feel right, then dismiss it. And that way, then you can never go wrong, because we all only take what information that we need that feels right for us. So I hope you have an absolutely awesome week wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. And don't forget, this is only the start of our week on A1R Psychic Radio. We have another 2 nights to go after this and plenty more fabulous readers and psychics and healers to answer your calls with some very exciting and interesting shows. There's always new people joining the team, and we have our perennial favourites as well. But I look forward to working with you again next week. Amanda Hall, psychic.com.au. Have an awesome week. Bye for now.